I think regarding advice, one of the key things for me as a young filmmaker was having mentors. And I was very, very, very lucky and privileged to have two mentors, a chap called Paul Wheeler, BSc, and another chap called Phil Mayhew, BSc. And being a cinematographer can be quite a lonely position. Normally there's only one of you on set, isn't there, unless you're running another unit. So you naturally look to your crew, you look to your colleagues for advice and collaboration, and that's what's absolutely magnificent about the societies, because it enables you to have open dialogue. And I phoned Gavin a few years ago about a gaffer in Scotland for Rillington Place, and Gavin worked with a wonderful chap called Arthur Donnelly, and there's only so much you can learn through certain channels of film schools and things like that, and really on set. And yeah, seek out someone whose work you admire, who's kind of like-minded.
It's very reassuring when you're starting out to talk to a cinematographer and find out they're suffering the same problems you're suffering, because you do tend to think when you're working on your own, it's just me that's having this crap with either the crew or the hours or reduction. Or
I think you don't imagine when you start out that big DPs that you look up to would potentially have this, that they're still suffering those same things.
Yeah.
I think that's nice to hear that well, maybe it's depressing because you realise it doesn't get better, but that there's those common problems. I think just for DP starting out, or people with that intention, just shooting as much as possible, on whatever format, not being attached to it needing to be the best camera, even if it's just on your phone, or doing stills, whatever you've got to available, just to play around. And
it's once you're doing the job, I think, as James says, you need people to work with and just be with to actually make sure you're going in the right direction.
I told myself, you're doing the right thing, first of all, because you don't even know if this is the right career choice when you start. You think, is this what I should be doing? And I think it is. I mean, it works out. And not to worry so much as well.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
not
to know that it's a war of attrition.
And it takes...
that if you battle hard enough, that you're committed enough, hopefully there's a guiding light that will lead you in the right way. Yeah. I guess my advice would be that, Ed Sheeran didn't write A-Team as his first song. So, you're going to write some bad songs. He probably wrote a couple of songs that sounded a bit like Linkin Park before he discovered that, an acoustic guitar was probably his thing. So my advice would be...
Learn the guitar.
Learn the guitar, yeah. Yeah, there's more money in that, maybe. But I guess to find your voice by experimentation and to know that you can do things that are wrong, but if you're philosophically attuned to the decisions that you make, then it's not really wrong. And what you need to do is make a corrective philosophical choice next time. So it's more just shoot and keep shooting and eventually learn that your way of doing what it is that you do. Find what drives you to turn up at 6 a.m. and do a 4-hour pre-light before a shoot day. If you don't have that drive to get to the studio or get to the location or then the next 25 years of your life is going to be hardcore. Yeah,
I think that's if I was going to tell my younger self anything, it would be that prep is absolutely vital, and you have to you have to turn up on the set with a plan, at least a plan,
absolutely,
and preferably 2 plans.
Yes,
and you simply can't wing it. I think also fighting for prep time, often that they're trying to minimise that, but fighting for pre-lights. And that's something I didn't get when I was first starting out, when I was first professional, that actually I can ask to get into the set and pre-light it, rather than the first things I did on my first jobs were to turn up on the morning, work out what the director wanted it, and then start lighting and getting the lights off the truck, and then you're not turning over till lunchtime and the producer's going spare. And I thought I just didn't know that actually I could ask to get my crew in the day before or the weekend before and pre-rig the whole thing, or when we're at another location, have them pre-rig it, lay cables, get the power in, get the lights up.
Know how to collaborate with people is pretty key for filmmakers. Mainly your crew. As a cinematographer, you're in charge of camera, grip and lighting. Don't try and run your department with a strict rule book. That those people are there to collaborate with, and also they're experts in their field, each head of the relevant departments, and they're there for you to seek advice from. There's no shame in approaching a grip and saying, I don't know how to do this. And the more experienced I get and the larger the productions that I work on, I find myself less involved in assigning the actual bit of kit. What I end up talking to the grip or the gaffer or whoever about the shot that I want and physically how to do that, and then I defer to them and actually have a very much like this, like an open discussion and figure out what would the limitations be, and you know, if we suddenly decide to change, because one thing we're completely sure of is that things do change on film sets, and it's always good to have a little bit more flexibility if it's ordering a 75-foot techno opposed to a 50-foot techno, and you know. But then if you do have a larger crane, that also has an impact as far as speed and as far as manoeuvrability and things like that. So it's all, you know, I would say don't be precious as a cinematographer. Defer to your gaffer, defer to your camera operator, and learn very much how to collaborate.
So what advice would we give ourselves when we were younger, knowing what we know now? I would say health is very important. Exercise to keep your health going, getting plenty of sleep. It's hard business, I think. Physically, it's a hard business, and mentally, it's quite a hard business. So I didn't really look after myself that well, although I'm still here, but I think that was what I would say.
That's one of the first things I learned doing student films was because you don't stop. And you reach a point where you simply cannot function anymore. It's like you're drunk and you can't think. And you all have to learn that for yourself, for what that feels like. And you think, okay, I'm burnt now. I can't actually contribute anymore, and I can't even speak. And I did that on a one student film, which was a great thing, but everyone just wanted to keep filming. And I just said, I can't operate the camera. I can't think straight. I have to lie down.
Yes.
And I just walked away. It was probably because it was 1 a.m.
I did a micro budget film in January of this year. I found that that constant pressure of getting it done in the time, because they didn't have enough time, they didn't have enough crew, so you're constantly filling in gaps. I mean, I was carrying lights around, you know, to make it quicker and doing stuff like that. And I kept going, but at the end of it, I was like, ugh, you know, and I thought I couldn't do this for 3 or 4 weeks.
If it's 4 days, sometimes you can push through it if it's a commercial or promo, but if it's 6 months, for you and the crew's sake, you have to stick to a certain schedule and not overrun it, because it's that sleep debt, you never get it back.
Right.
And it just compounds and compounds and compounds. And I think there's a cut-off point for any crew, and it's around 10 hours on camera.
Yes.
10 or 11 hours on camera, and 5 days a week, because you need those 2 days. I don't think people can work longer, but the moment you do, it's diminishing returns. And by the end of week 4 or 5, your crew's beginning to get shot, and then they get a bit antsy and not very happy, and then they don't help as much, and it's just a slide.
Yeah.
But it took the business a long time to work out that 11-day fortnights were
bad idea.
Pretty bad idea.
They don't work.
It's only, I mean, I on a lot of television did 11-day fortnights for years and years and years, and it was not because I wanted to, I had no choice.
Yeah.
But it's only recently that it seems that they seem to have gone out of favour. And the only times in that period that I ever did TV shows or films that were 5-day weeks were because of certain actors like Ray Winston or Judi Dench or whatever. They won't do it. Anthony Hopkins, they wouldn't do it. So that was a benefit, but it was only because of them. And it was only now that we're starting to go to 5-day weeks. And 11-day fortnights were fine when you're young. I think but it can be dangerous. It can be really dangerous.
Well, as you know, what happens is it's not an 11-day fortnight, it's a 14-day week, because you're going to be recceing almost certainly on one of those days off, and you're going to be pre-lighting on one of those days off. If you've only got one of those days, that's your day blown.
Yeah.
And directors often, they need time off to shot list and think about the thing or rehearse. So it just doesn't allow for that. One of the worst things you can do to the human body is change the time that you're working every day. And we do all the things wrong, actually. I mean, and I came off a shoot recently where every day was a different start and clawbacks, but you end up with Saturday, you know, so you finish your Friday night's work at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, which is meant to be your day off. So you get back to your flat and the sun's coming up, and you have to try and sleep during the day. And then Sunday's a pre-light day, so you're back on it again.
And that's principally because of the actors' deal.
That's right, because of turnaround.
That they have a tough deal with SAG and all of the AFTRA and all those people, that they have to have a 12-hour turnaround.
That's right.
And no, we've all done that. On a movie I did, talking about the hours changing, we had who was at the time, very important actor. He would not come in until about 10 a.m. So he would shoot until 8 and then he'd go home, and he wouldn't come in again until 10 a.m. but the crew were always called at 7:30. So we always did 2.5 hours before he got there, and then we'd have to do all the hours he was going to stay on set. Every day we did that. So we were doing 14, 15 hours days.
It's a kind of dry and boring subject, but film school should tackle it, is how do you run the business? Because they never, at any film school I know of, or any course that I know of, say how to do your VAT, and should you do it, and should you have a limited company, and do you have multiple bank accounts, and do you split up your VAT and your tax so that you've got money at the end of the year to spend it, and do you have 6 months buffer for when you're not working, and all of that, how you run your business.
And going on from there, actually, is something that's blown up recently, is working in the US.
Well, yeah.
And a lot of people want to go there because it's obviously a hotbed of production, but there's a lot of fences to jump over.
Yes.
And no one ever tells you that. And some people find it out by accident and not very well.
You have to dig for the information. It's meant to be difficult. There are certain hurdles to jump through to get into the business, because so many people think they want to do it, and it's not right for everyone. I mean, we've all seen trainees come out on the first day and they think they're going to go home at 6 o'clock and say, no, we're here till midnight, and the shock in their faces of, oh my God, but really?
Or they're late.
Or they're
late.
Say
you're 10 minutes late.
Really, and some people, and they don't come back the next week and say, okay, well, probably good you found that out now.